And going into this year with these expectations that it's going to be different and that everything's from last year or the last 2 years is going to be magically evaporated, like we do need to maintain this sense of optimism and positivity, which is, great for our mental health. And there's also the reality of everything that we've gone through and everything that we're going through. And so that's why I feel like tonight's work, yes, it's around goals, and yes, that's kind of the basis, but it's about so much more than that. It's really about practicing new levels of self-awareness, acceptance, leadership, self-regulation. It's everything that we'll be going into. So we've got an hour and a half together. So that's not a lot of time for everything that I want to cover. But there will be time for Q&A at the end. So I'll make sure that I leave plenty of time for questions. If any questions come up throughout what I am sharing, if there's something that's unclear that I share, please pop it in the chat box and just say, like, what do you mean by that? Or can you say more about that? I've got some of my past students in here. So if I can't pop in an answer, I'm sure they will. I just need a cushion. But low down on my chair. And so, please jot down your questions throughout the course of tonight or pop them in the chat box. But I won't hop off this call until I've answered all of your questions. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. Just use the space, use me. There's so many incredible minds and hearts in this space. So I really want this to be a space for sharing, for asking questions, for setting really powerful intentions, and for using and harnessing this collective energy that we have in this space to really bring some power back into our intentions, some power back into this year. So that's something that we get to do together. And that's really the power of collective, these group containers, is harnessing and leasing the frequency from the other woman. So with that, what else did I have to share? As you're joining, just let me know in the comments a couple of words to describe how your 2022 has started. I'd just love to feel into how you're feeling. And I am going to share my screen because I've got some slides. Where are they? Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Someone give me a thumbs up. See the slides? Yeah, thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Catherine. Yay. Okay, so welcome to Soul Goals 2022. The idea for this just kind of came to me a few days ago, about a week ago, when I felt this resistance come up again, as it does every year, of like, oh, fuck, it's January. I've got to set goals. Or like, I've got to make something of this year. I've got to do something. And I had this awareness that this has been the same sense that's been coming about sort of every year for as long as I can remember. This kind of, it's not Monday-itis, it's like January-itis. It's like, oh, fuck. And it's the expectation that we place on ourselves. And it's also this collective expectation of January needs to be the month that you need to nail in order to nail the rest of the year, the rest of your life. And there's a very small window in which you can do that, and then you've missed it. And it's bullshit. And it's not supportive, it's not compassionate, and it's not the way that we as women operate best. So I decided to just kind of put the feelers out there about this workshop, and there seemed to be a lot of interest, and having 100 of you sign up to it is just really testament to how much confusion and lack of resonance there is around traditional goal setting methods. And tonight I'll explain exactly why that is. And I don't claim to be a guru in this area. I've already admitted that I'm certainly not a goal crusher. It's something I'm still figuring out myself. And so I'm so open, and I welcome your interpretations and your ideas and your opinions as well. So please use the chat box for that. I just value your contribution so much. So that is how we all learn. So let's dive in. Yeah, if you've and actually Lee Harris, who some of you ladies might be aware of, he's sort of an energy reader. He does monthly updates on YouTube. He's phenomenal. But he did an update for the energy for 2022. And he said that January is not about like launching anything. It's not about going hard on anything. It's not about creating. It's not about building. It's about clearing out what no longer serves you. So January 2022 really has the energy of identifying and clearing out the relationships, the possessions, the habits, the belief systems perhaps that no longer serve you, so that you can clear out that space and create fertile ground to call in what is aligned. So often we're not calling in what Lee Harris. So often we're not manifesting what it is that we truly want because there's so much clutter around us. There's so much clutter of things that are stagnant, things that don't align to the new energy that you're stepping into. And so they're keeping you in a particular vibration that doesn't align to where you're going. And so in order to create space for your new goals, your new intentions, your new manifestations to arrive, we need to do the clearing. It's kind of like if you have a look at agriculture and landscaping and nature, you need to clear out all of the weeds. You need to create fertile soil in order for, new plants to bloom. So if you don't feel like you're in the energy of like slaying 2022 yet, it is perfectly okay. But perhaps you can shift your intention to clearing out what no longer serves you. So going through your wardrobe, going through your bathroom cabinet, going through your kitchen cabinets, clearing out everything that's expired, everything that you no longer need, and really creating that energetic space to call in what is truly aligned to where you're going. Cool. So welcome to 2022. We're here, we made it, we've arrived. And I don't know about you, but I feel like 2022 has this different energy about it. And I don't know if it's just the numbers, because I love the numbers 222 and 22, but it just has a different feel about it. And so, yeah, I'll get into more of that soon. I don't want to take too much time waffling because I tend to do that. I'm just going to check that there's no one that's trying to get in. Okay, cool. I can hear my friend in the other room running a bath and it's just distracting me a little bit. But so if we haven't met before, I'm sure that we have, because you've all come to this through my email list or through social media. I'm a women's life coach, educator, podcaster, and founder of Selfish, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end. I've got some Selfish students on this call tonight. I'm wildly passionate about empowering women to embody their highest potential through self-love and self-leadership. And something that I've seen over the last 4 years of working with women is that our capacity or our potential is here and we're existing like down here. And there's so many common themes that come through in why that is. And so I feel like in my capacity as life coach and also as someone who's deeply intuitive, I can see the murky waters that are in the way. I can see, and there's common themes, of course, that come through for a lot of women. I can see everything that's in the way before you can see it. And it just brings me so much joy to be the conduit, to be the facilitator to support women in, really activating their highest potential, whatever that looks like. That might be as a mom, that might be as a career woman, that might be as a partner, that might be as whatever. So I tend to work with women who are really smart and really driven and really interested in personal growth, but greatly underestimate their worth and feel it's their duty to put everyone else's needs before their own. So I can't see you because I'm watching my presentation, but feel free to put your hand up if you identify with being a people pleaser or having the disease to please. Very common. I wonder if I can see you guys if I put this back on. It's much nicer when I can actually see some faces. So who are you? I want you to pop in the chat box where you're from, just so we can feel a bit more connected and feel as if we know where we're at. Perhaps there's someone on this call who's in your city. I was speaking to a lady earlier today and she was experiencing feelings of severe loneliness, just of not having like-minded community around her, because she is on a growth journey and she's evolving and she's growing, and all of her old friendships are kind of slipping away and falling away. And there's this real sense of loneliness and isolation that comes with that. And so who knows what will come of tonight. Perhaps you'll connect with someone who you resonate with, who's in your area. San Francisco, holy crap, how exciting. London, yay. Ahipara, hey girl. I love that. Okay, we've got people from all over. So tonight we're going to go through why we suck at goals. We're going to talk about how to clarify your intention and why that's important. We're going to do a little breathwork exercise, which will be 7 to 8 minutes. If you've never experienced breathwork before, it's just a really powerful practice for dropping you out of your head and into your body. It's almost impossible to create goals or to create intentions or to create a vision for yourself when you're existing in your head. Why? Because your head is all about this. It's the structured mind. It's all about what's logical, what makes sense, what will keep dad happy, what will, earn the most amount of money, for example. And it's not tapped into soul. It's not tapped into intuition or to source. And so breath work is a really quick practice to allow you to drop out of your head, get away from the ego, and just drop into your body and actually access the internal wisdom, access your inner knowing. So you'll get much more powerful answers from that space. And then I'm going to talk about an alternative method of goal setting that I see as most effective for us, for women. And we'll do a quick embodiment exercise if we have time. And then, of course, time for Q&A at the end. So let's first drop into that little breathing exercise so that we can be fully present, we can leave the day behind, and you can absorb as much as possible. So if it feels good for you, I just invite you to get comfortable where you're sitting. And if you can, and if it is accessible to you, you can close down your eyes. And just start connecting to your breath. And just allowing yourself to bring your awareness to the space between your eyebrows, your third eye, and allowing that space to soften, softening your jaw, your shoulders, bringing your awareness into your heart center. Relaxing your pelvis. And just taking some cleansing breaths in through your nose and sighing it out through your mouth. Perhaps taking the deepest breath that you've taken today. You might want to sigh it out through your mouth if that feels good. You might want to make any movements with your neck. You might want to roll your shoulders. Just trusting your body's wisdom to move in a way that feels good. Dropping your awareness out of your mind and into your body. Noticing any sensations, any contractions, any tightness, any pain, and just resting your awareness there, breathing into that space. And when you're feeling relaxed, I'll invite you to start the Halo Active Breath, which is an intentional breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, just like this. Going at a pace that feels good for you. It might be a bit slower than what I've demonstrated. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And just trusting your body, trusting your breath. Keeping it in that continuous pattern, allowing your breath to access whatever wisdom is present in your body today. Inhaling softness, exhaling contraction. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to do what's called a top hold, which is taking a deep breath right to the top and then holding your breath at the top. And when we do that, you might notice a sense of kind of chaos or a sense of panic that washes over you when you feel like you might feel a little bit dizzy. You might feel like you can't hold your breath anymore. Just trust that chaos. Just notice that chaos and see if you can hold that space and see what's on the other side of that arc of chaos. There's a beautiful peace. There's a beautiful transcendence that comes over you. So just continuing to take those halo active breaths. 2 more. And then on this next inhale, breathing right in and then holding your breath at the top. And then settling into that space with your breath, with your lungs filled. Allowing your heart rate to rest, to drop. Allowing a sense of peace to wash over you. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, you can exhale, letting it out through the mouth. And then returning back to that halo active breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just for 1 more minute, and then we're going to wrap up. You might want to go a little bit deeper this time. Just trust your body, trust your breath. And then releasing that breath and just coming back to your normal breath pattern. And just giving yourself, you might want to place your hands on your heart and just giving yourself gratitude. Thanking yourself, thanking your body, thanking your breath. And then when it feels good, you might want to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and gently flutter your eyes open. And just noticing what's shifted. And feel free to share anything in the chat box that might have come up for you. All right, let's get in. Okay, so now that we're feeling a little bit more tapped in, a little bit more relaxed, you might want to write down anything that came up in your journal. I'm not a massive fan of journaling, so I'm not going to blame you if you don't want to. But am I recording this? Hold on. God, it's been so long. I'm such an amateur. Am I still recording? Hold on, I'll just check because I freak out that I'm not recording something. Okay, I am. Perfect. All right, so we're going to get into the reasons why you suck at goal setting, and I would love for you to share in the chat box why you suck at goal setting. Why do you think that you suck at goal setting, which I'm sure isn't the truth, but I want to acknowledge that that perhaps feels very real for you at the moment. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get in. Hear my bloody Apple fan. It is so loud. It's a new computer. I don't know what was going on. Anyway, okay, why do you suck at goal setting? So number one, and I've got six of these that I'm going to go through. And of course, it's not limited to 6, but these are the 6 that really felt resonant for me today. Number one, your intention is based in fear rather than love. And for those of you who have done Radical Blueprint or Selfish, I talk about this a lot. There's only ever two energies that we can operate out of, fear or love. And so what that looks like when we break it down, whenever you are operating from fear, so whenever you're setting goals out of a space of fear, you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're not in your body, you're in your head. And when you're not in your body, you're not in your truth. And when you're not in your truth, you're not coming from love. So how often are we setting goals from a place of fear rather than a place of really tapped in desire, authenticity, intuition, knowing? For those of you who have read Untamed, it's just such a phenomenal book about tapping into your inner knowing. An example of this might be wanting to lose weight because, and you know, how many of us set a weight loss goal as January New Year's resolutions? It sucks. Why? Because we've been conditioned to think that that's what a New Year's resolution is. You know, it has to be weight loss. It has to be earning a certain amount of money. It has to be getting something that we don't currently have. And so if you're wanting to lose weight because you hate your body, you hate the way you look, and you think it's the reason that you're single, is that coming from fear or love? That's coming from a place of fear. The fear of, if I don't lose weight, I'm unlovable. If I don't lose weight, I don't fit in with my friends. If I don't lose weight, I look ugly in my clothes, for example, coming from a place of fear. So the solution to that, to having goals that are based in fear, is doing the work to know yourself, knowing what you do and don't want. This is something that we know that we should do, but we tend to not do it because it feels hard, right? And at the basis of it, we don't truly trust ourselves, and we don't truly trust that we can have what it is that we say that we want. So we set the bar really, really low. Excuse my voice. I've had a sore throat the last couple of days, and I've been trying to drink all of the things today to get rid of it, but it hasn't quite gone. Anyway, get clear on your values, integrate past trauma, surround yourself with good people who want to see you shine. And for so many people, it's their environment that is actually holding them back from thriving. So we cannot underestimate the people that we surround ourselves with, the mentors, therapists, healers, coaches, teachers that we journey alongside in helping us to really, you know, expand that vision for ourselves. Prioritizing white space. What I mean by white space is scheduled time in your calendar where you're not doing anything. You're literally up to fuck all, and it's okay. It's guilt-free fuck all. And that's not something that we do enough, right? We get some space in our calendar and we think, how do I fill this? I better call a friend. I better go and do this thing. I better busy myself with this. I better check some more work emails. And we never actually give ourselves the agendaless white space to just be with ourselves, be in our body, be with our energy. And that's where all of our downloads are actually going to drop in, when we're still, when we have no agenda, where we have no distractions. And all my people pleasers who put their hands up before, you guys need this the most. And I know, like, it's boring and it's not productive. And for my overachievers in the house, you're probably going to avoid the white space the most, and you're the ones that need it the most. And time to reflect, one of the most underestimated skills or methods or modalities that we can have is actually reflecting. So if you haven't already sat down and done some conscious reflection of 2021, what your lessons were, what you want to celebrate, what you want to let go of, what you want to invite in more of. If you haven't done that, and I know it's like 2021's gone, like let's just forget about it. But if you haven't actually consciously done that, you're really missing a golden opportunity. So set yourself some white space. Actually, it's not white space. Set yourself some time over the next week or before the end of January, if you can, to really do that, to really reflect. And please prioritize the celebration. Like, celebrate yourself for just fucking making it to the end of 2021. That in itself is an achievement. Loving yourself unconditionally, again, setting the goals from a space of love versus fear. You're not going to achieve goals if you're beating yourself up and you're punishing yourself in the process. I promise you. Or you're going to, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to go back to a place that was worse than you started in the long run. And operate from compassion. Forgive yourself for all of the times where you didn't crush your goals, or where you didn't reach that milestone, or where you didn't, stick to that thing that you said that you were going to do. Just have compassion. It's information. It's data. It just is. It's not a reason to beat yourself up. It's not a reason to abandon yourself. It has to stop. And so is that clear, you guys, what I mean by coming from that intention of fear versus, sorry, of love versus fear? I think we're pretty clear on that. Yeah, any questions that come up from that, pop them in the chat box. Of course. My motivation fades fast. Not much longer, Ellie, because you've joined Selfish, and we are going to get on top of that. That's just data. That's information. It's a self-sabotaging tendency. And yeah, it's just one of those little symptoms that we get to look at, because it's never about the motivation. And something that I will say about motivation, this is a freebie for you guys, is that motivation isn't a feeling. Wait, hold on. Wait, let me get this straight. Okay, motivation isn't a feeling, it's a decision. And so many of us are sitting there waiting for motivation, like, oh, I'm just going to wait here until I feel motivated to go for this run, or I'm just going to wait here until I feel motivated to like look for this new job or to start saving this money or whatever. Newsflash, motivation isn't going to come. It's a decision that you make. I'm deciding to feel motivated today. I'm surrounding myself with good people. I'm reading uplifting content. I am nourishing myself really well. I'm sleeping really well, and, you know, looking after all of my base needs. And that's what gives me motivation. Motivation is not something that just drops into our awareness. It doesn't. So sorry to break it to some of you guys. So that's number one. Number two, come on. Number two is you're trying to keep your parents happy. And feel free to own up to this one if this feels resonant for you. So many people are setting these arbitrary goals based on what they think their parents want for them, or the bitches you went to school with 10 years ago that you can no longer stand. Why do we do this? Why do we set these goals of like buying the house and like getting into the relationship and getting the good job and becoming a doctor and all of these things, when it isn't truly what is on our heart, isn't truly what we desire? Our greatest desire is to belong, to fit in, and our greatest fear is failure, or to not belong. And your parents' greatest fear is that their kids won't succeed, which in turn turns them into failures. And so we have to have a look at that. This is the parameters that we are sitting inside of this incessant fear of failure, this incessant desire to belong, our parents kind of breathing down our necks about what they think that we should do. And it's so hard to make an aligned, authentic, truthful decision from that place when we've got all of these other sort of, fear-based parameters around us. So the solution to that is getting really, really clear on the why behind what you're working towards. If it is a house that you want, why do you want a house? Is it just because that's what everybody else is doing? Is it because your parents are telling you and breathing down your neck about getting a house to get on the property ladder? Is it just because you think that at your age that's something that you should be doing? Or are you actually seeking security? And so if that is the case, how can you create security, or how can you tap into the existing security that you already have around you? Because having that security, that sense of security, and aligning yourself to that energy which already exists, or creating more of it, that's going to bring you that goal, versus doing it because somebody else thinks that you should do it, or because you feel like you should do it in order to belong. Why? That's coming from a place of fear. If I don't do it, I don't belong. If I don't do it, I don't fit in. Is that coming from a place of love? No. Coming from a place of love would be, I want that security. I want a home to call my own. I love myself and I feel like I deserve this achievement. Very, very different contexts. Address any codependency and enmeshment that you might have with your parents. And so codependency and enmeshment is around wanting to basically keep your parents happy and being afraid of doing something that goes against their wishes for you. Build self-belief. So really become your own greatest cheerleader. Back yourself, that you can have the things that you say that you want, and fall in love with sucking at things. Sometimes the reason that we don't actually go after what it is that we want is because we're so afraid of failing. We're so afraid of looking shit. We're so afraid of not getting it perfect. And so we just don't try. And what happens when we don't try? We miss out on the experience of actually just sucking at something and doing it for the hell of it. We miss out on resilience, on overcoming obstacles and doing hard things. Shout out to Glennon Doyle. And I don't know what the fifth one is, but maybe you guys can think of something. So this is something that I'm really getting my head around at the moment. I've kind of noticed that in my life, there's nothing that I do just for the sake of it. Everything has an outcome attached to it. So if I'm reading a self-help book, it's to, get more knowledge for my business. If I'm on my computer, it's to do something for my business. I don't actually have any real kind of like hobbies or things that I suck at or things that I just do for the enjoyment of doing them. And so that's something I'm really focusing on this year, like doing tennis or doing piano or French or something just for the sake of doing it. Yeah, so that's number 2. Number 3, the method that you're trying to use sucks for you. And so I wish I could see you guys, but I can't. I need to get over that. Yeah, I would say this probably should have been number 1, not that they're in any specific order, but so much of what trips us up with goal setting and the whole goal conversation is that you're trying to use outdated methods that were created by men, for men, whatever. We love men, but we're not men. And so SMART goals can fuck right off. The 5 a.m. club can fuck right off. And 8-week challenges can fuck right off. And absolutely no shade if this is your preferred method. This is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, obviously. And I've used all of these in the past, and they didn't work for me. Why? Because they're very prescriptive, they're very rigid, they're very structured, and they don't really allow room for, waking up one morning and not feeling like doing that thing, or, they just don't really have much compassion at the center. It's very rigid, very prescriptive, and women don't operate that way. We are, as feminine beings, we are all about the flow, the creativity, the intuition, about changing our mind. And these things don't really allow for that. And so that's why a lot of the time they don't work, because they feel punishing. It feels like a punishment. If you miss a day, if you don't get up at 5 a.m. because you're on your period and you need a bit more sleep, you feel like you need to punish yourself. You feel like you've fallen off the wagon and you've ruined the entire thing. Is that coming from fear, or is that coming from love? Pretty sure it's coming from fear. And so, yeah, most goal setting methods are created by men, for men. They are outdated and arbitrary. A lot of them are based on like facts and figures and numbers and weight loss and blah, blah, blah. And they don't take into account that humans are so complex. Our world is so complex. It is so nuanced and ever changing and ever evolving. And we favor capitalism and achievements. We have a real culture and society of like earning more, doing more, being more, achieving more, getting to the top of the ladder. And it's like, why? Is that truly what we want? Or are we just following the people who are on that, trajectory without actually stopping to go, does this still feel aligned? Does this still feel aligned? Does this still feel aligned? And so we really need to, I don't like to use that language, but as women, we get to recognize that we're not about doing. We're not about achieving. We're not about like striving and like hustling. And that is such an outdated method. And for so long, women have been trying to be men because that's the modeling that was taught to us. And it hasn't worked. We've got burnt out. We've got demotivated, deflated. We beat ourselves up because we're not, achieving what we think we could. And it's because we're focusing on the doing versus the being. Like, who am I being in the process of achieving these goals? What kind of person do I want to become in the process? Do I want to become more resilient, more open-hearted, more courageous, more whatever? And so less of a focus on doing and achievements, more of a focus on being, in your beingness. Oh, continued. Okay. We women thrive. I think it's only women on here. There may be a few men, so apologies, but something very good to learn. We thrive when we are in our joy. And when I say women, I'm talking about women who identify with being more in their feminine energy, because we have both. All women have masculine and feminine energy. So we thrive when we are in our joy, our expression, our creativity, our flow, and our play. And your 8-week challenges and your 5 a.m. club and your hustle, grind, whatever, they don't really allow for much of that. Most goal setting methods are too rigid and structured for our feminine brains. That's why we're like, whoa, just the thought of it is like, fuck. They lack compassion, as I said before, they lack empathy, these goal setting methods, and they don't celebrate regulated nervous systems and our desire as women to change our minds 10 times a day and follow our highest joy. The guilt is real. Yes, Shelley. Yes, Ellie, totally recognize that. Shelley, time to drop the SMART goals. They suck. Yeah. Okay, so what's the solution? I can't even remember what the number was, but the solution to it, about the outdated method, that's what it was, is, and this is the solution for every single one of these that I will recommend. It's do the work, it's develop self-awareness, it's get to know yourself, it's go inwards. No more like searching out there for the answer. Who can tell me what is going to be best for me? How can I get the validation or the approval that like something out there is the thing for me? It's like we've got it all back to front. It's all in here. We have all of the answers within us. And that's why practices like breath work bring us inwards. They bring us to the truth of ourselves, because everything you need to know about yourself and about what you want to create in your life and about what you want to bring in more of, it exists in here. I can't tell you what that is. Your partner can't, your mum can't, but you can tap into that. Every single one of you has that available to you. And so taking time to really get to know yourself through white space, through coaching, therapy, whatever, journaling, and how you best operate. Like that is where you find that answer. Are you extrinsically or intrinsically motivated? So are you someone who can set a goal for themselves, not tell anyone about it, and you just crush it on your own? Not me. Or, well, maybe me. Or a bit of a lone wolf. Or are you someone who wants accountability? You want to tell a best friend about it, or you want a coach to keep you accountable, or you want to sign up to a challenge or a Facebook group where you get to check in and like celebrate your wins, and like figuring out how motivated you are. And you can do Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies quiz to find out whether you are extrinsically or intrinsically. Again, that's going to be another tool in your tool belt to go, okay, maybe I haven't been reaching these goals because I actually need to ask for support. I actually need to ask for accountability. I need to have someone cheering me on and celebrating my wins and checking in on a weekly basis. That's not something to be guilty about. What do you value most? Have you gotten clear on what you actually value most? And this should be something that you revisit over and over and over, because as you're evolving, what you value is going to shift. And at different life stages, your values are going to shift as well. Are you a pressure performer? I used to think I was lazy and that I just didn't like achieving things or like having goals and whatever. But what I realized was that I was a pressure performer, meaning that I like to leave things to the last minute. I like to have the pressure on me in order to achieve something. And I used to beat myself up for that. I thought that I was just lazy. I thought that I was self-sabotaging, but actually that's just how I'm wired. And so really going inwards and figuring out how you are built, your very unique makeup, and how you are best, how you best operate is one of the greatest gifts that you will give yourself, not just for goal setting, but for your relationships, for everything, really. And finally, what systems might support you? And when I say systems, this is something that I'm just really starting to place a massive amount of focus on in my business and personal life. Is part of the reason why I felt like I was never achieving what I wanted to was because I just didn't have the systems in place. I'd have like notes over here, and I'd have notes on my phone, and I'd have this on my computer, and I didn't know where anything was. And I tried to use my brain as a filing system. But our brains are not for filing. Our brains are for thinking, intuiting, problem solving. And so I've started to set up systems in my life for, a system for keeping and tracking my goals, a system for tracking my to-do list, a system, you might have a system of accountability with a friend. But often the reason why we're tripping up on goals or on achieving things is because we just don't have that system or that structure in place. And for those of us who identify as neurodivergent or ADHD or ADD, which I'm pretty sure I am, we really need systems. We really need that structure in order to keep us on a sort of, just to keep us aligned and to keep us on an even keel. Otherwise, everything is just all over the show. I'll talk a little bit more about systems in a little bit, particularly one of my favorite systems that I use. Okay. Is anyone else trying to get in? No. So, oopsie daisies. Number 4 is that you have self-sabotaging tendencies at play. Feel free to put your hand up if you identify with having self-sabotaging tendencies at play. And it's not about judgment. It's not about judging these self-sabotaging tendencies. Again, it's just information. It's just like, okay, I'm noticing that this thing is playing out. I wonder what this means, or I wonder what this is trying to point me to. Why? It's almost impossible to achieve set goals and to go after the life you say you want when you have unintegrated past trauma. Your sabotaging tendencies are there to keep you safe, and your safety for our nervous system equals our comfort zone. And so we are wired as humans to stay in our comfort zone. We're not wired for change. We're not wired for doing the big scary things like starting the business or going out on the date with the new man or woman, or we're not wired to move, across the world to the other country. Our nervous system is set up to keep us safe in our comfort zone and doing the same thing. And that's why so many people will stay in relationships or stay in a job that they hate or stay living with their mother for too long or whatever. Because the pain of staying the same isn't as great as the pain of the unknown. Our nervous system takes one look at that and goes, no, that feels scary. I can't be assured that I won't fail, that I won't die, that I won't whatever. And so that's why it's really important. All that to say is that we all have trauma, and trauma isn't just watching someone be murdered, for example. Trauma is, I won't go into it now because it's so multifaceted and I don't have time, but trauma can be your parents splitting up when you're a child, or there not being much money available, not being much food available. All of that is trauma. And so when we have this unintegrated trauma or unhealed trauma, we exist from that place. Bloody boyfriend, he knows I'm doing a fine. And we exist from that place. And so that's where so many of our self-sabotaging tendencies will pop up, because we don't feel worthy of achieving the thing. We don't feel worthy of asking for more. We're scared that our friends will no longer like us if we become too big, too good, too much, and a million other myriad reasons. And so your self-sabotaging tendencies are your protectors. They're trying to keep you safe. And so we get to love those parts of ourselves that feel afraid of our bigness and of our potential. An example of this, if growing up your parents were always fighting about money, you may have developed the belief that money equals pain. That was certainly, well, I wouldn't say that was the case, that exact example in my household, but very, very similar. So today you might struggle to earn or keep money due to that subconscious belief of money equals pain, and as a way to keep you out of pain. So money issues, money struggles, fear of money, fear of asking for a raise, fear of, taking gifts from strangers, not from strangers, from friends, whatever, that's just information. And it will often point to a subconscious belief that we picked up through some traumatic experience in childhood. Feel free to pop in the chat box if that resonates for you. I think I have another example. I do. Another example, if your parents gave your siblings more attention than you because perhaps they were special needs or whatever, they were younger or whatever, you may have adopted the belief that my best isn't good enough, no one notices me. And so you may have become an overachiever at school or at work, or an underachiever. It can swing either way in the workplace. So these are just some examples of how our past upbringing, our conditioning, our unintegrated trauma can still be playing out today in every single area of our lives, particularly when it comes to like setting goals and going after a really big life. The solution, as always, God, I'm talking fast. Okay, I need a drink. Okay, doing the work, of course, as always. Developing self-awareness. So just really going inwards to know yourself. working with coaches and therapists, which will help expedite that journey and hold up a mirror to your blind spots. Journaling, a really great way to tap into the subconscious mind and override the structured mind. Looking at your parents, like look at their relationship when you were growing up, looking at the perhaps challenging experiences that you might have gone through with your parents, looking at their programming and their conditioning and the beliefs that they perhaps instilled in you, which aren't effective. Looking at your belief systems. And then I have a course called Healing Self-Sabotage, which this week is $111 down from $222. So that is a program that looks, well, a self-paced course that looks at how you sabotage money, love, health, and your relationship with yourself. So really powerful program. I'll send out a link tomorrow if anyone's interested in that. How are we going, guys? Is this landing? Am I talking too fast? I feel like I've got steam coming out of my ears. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Someone tell me. Someone give me some validation. Okay, thanks, Emma. Thanks, Lisa. Oh, thanks, Kerry. Okay, we're good. I'm like, has there been a power cut? Right, number 5. So remember, we've got 6. So number 5, I can't count on my hands, but you've made being happy the most important thing. And I actually read this. I've been sharing with you guys on my Instagram. I'm reading this at the moment, which is phenomenal. And this point actually came up in this book. And I was like, fuck, yes, need to talk about that. Often we make being happy the most important thing, right, in our lives and as it pertains to our goals. It's like, it's got to make me happy. I've got to be happy at the end of it. And this is actually a quote from the book, which I pulled out. We have turned happiness into a goal when it is really only an emotion, a fleeting one at that. It's not something to be attached to. When we are attached to it, we are eager for our next happy fix. Subconsciously, we resist and reject those life experiences that cause us any degree of sadness, anger, or pain. And so those life experiences might be going dating again after heartbreak, or applying for a new job when perhaps you've had a really traumatic experience in your past job with your past boss. And so if we are attuned to constantly seeking out happiness, and that's our kind of metric of what we want to achieve, and we're not also welcoming in the other side of the coin, which is, challenge, which is pain, which is rejection, which is whatever, then we're missing out on a golden opportunity. We're missing out on, well, next slide. We are missing out on resilience, like growth, personal growth, our evolution, and really meeting ourselves. Because how many of you have really met yourselves in your rock bottom, in your challenges, in your breakdowns? Those have certainly been the most uplifting times of my life when I've not been happy, when I've been really unhappy. And so if we're constantly striving just for happiness and what's going to bring me happiness, and this thing is going to bring me happiness, then we're missing the point. So an example of what this might look like is I'll work towards getting a promotion at my job as more money will make me happy. Or I'll work towards attracting a relationship because that will make me happy, right? Like, who believes that it's your partner's job to make you happy? The problem with this is that you've placed your happiness in the hands of something outside of you, which is entirely disempowering. Your happiness is your responsibility, nobody else's, not your jobs, not your parents, not your partners, not your friends, not festivals. It's an inner job. It's inner work. And it's also not something that you can expect to feel all the time. And so as a human having a spiritual experience or vice versa, we get to welcome in the full spectrum of the human experience. And so that means the challenge, that means the pain. Because when you're going into love, you're also inviting in the risk of pain. So the solution is realizing that happiness is an inside job, remembering that happiness is fleeting, and focusing on goals that make you grow as a person and build character. Focus on goals or intentions that actually excite you. So doing the thing that you suck at because you think you can't wait to see what you're capable of. Starting the business, not because you know that you're going to succeed and you know that you're going to win, but because it's something that you're passionate about and you can't sleep at night thinking about this thing. And also remember that fear and excitement feel the same in the body. And so sometimes there might be something that we're aiming towards, but we have this feeling overcome us of like, panic of like, oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed about this goal. And we tell ourselves that it's fear. No, I can't do it. Stop. No, danger. Rather than actually going inwards and having a gentle self-inquiry of like, maybe this is actually excitement. Because fear wouldn't be present if that thing wasn't really important to us. And so often we talk ourselves out of doing the big scary thing because fear comes over us and we've made fear the demon. Like fear means stop. Fear means danger. Versus fear means really fucking important. And fear equals excitement. And number 6, you don't actually believe that you can have what you want or what you say you want. And so something that we tend to do as humans, but predominantly as women, is upper limit ourselves. And if you've read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, he talks about upper limiting ourselves, which essentially means putting caps on our potential. And so we do this all the time. I'm sure every single one of you has an example of where you've like, there's something that you really want, but you're like, who am I to want that? I'll never get that. I don't have all of those qualifications. I'm not as good as that one. Why would he be into me? I'm not pretty enough. And that's upper limiting ourselves. We put caps on our potential and caps on our happiness because we don't truly feel worthy. We don't truly have self-belief that we can get that thing. And so we don't try. And so we miss out. We miss 100 of the shots we don't take, or whatever Michael Jordan said. A big, 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 big problem. You don't feel worthy. So you lack self-worth. You lack self-belief. You don't trust yourself. And you want proof you won't fail, or all of the above. And usually it's all of the above. They're all sort of interconnected. And so where does this come from? Where do we learn that we are not worthy? Where do we learn that we shouldn't have this thing? In New Zealand, in Australia, we have tall poppy syndrome. So we have that against us of like, we need to keep ourselves small because we don't want to be judged for our bigness. Whereas you go to America and you're judged if you're not big. And so much of it is cultural and conditioning. And then so much of it may come from our parents. Say if dad worked a really busy job and he didn't give you enough attention or validation, you might not feel worthy of a man's love, for example. So this is why doing the inner work and really going inwards and having a look at your past stuff is really important, because then you get to pull out the weeds of like, oh yeah, I actually don't feel worthy of having this goal. Why don't I feel worthy? And I'll share this with you guys. I actually had, I went out for a walk with like a Instagram friend and I lived to tell the tale, but this week, and we were talking about relationship stuff, and I talked about some stuff that had been coming up recently around I struggle to feel safe with love because I haven't had an example in my life of love being, working out. My parents split up. My brother has had really tumultuous relationships. My grandparents split up. All of my relationships have ended. And then she looked at me and she was like, yeah, but do you need proof or do you need belief? And I was like, fuck, I just need belief. Like, that's my responsibility. I create that belief, not when I get the proof. The proof comes from the belief. And so me at 37 years old, like 6, 7, 8 years on my personal development journey, I'm still having these awarenesses of like, oh, fuck. I'm still getting caught in that story of like, love is unsafe, love is untrustworthy because I don't have the proof yet. But I get to create the belief. I get to create the self-belief. I get to believe in love. And so that's often where we kind of get it twisted. We're waiting for that proof. But we'll be waiting our entire lives because we've got it around the wrong way. We create that belief. Does that resonate? Yeah. Big pat on the back moment for me. So the solution, again, do the inner work. And wait, oh no, this is a new one. I thought I'd copied one. Do the inner work, integrate past trauma, of course. And this isn't an overnight thing. This is like an ongoing thing. And it's about finding your person and your modality that really allows you to do that. And practicing embodying someone who feels worthy. And I'm going to talk soon about embodiment, so I won't go into it now. What's the time? 7. Shite. Okay. But embodying is essentially like playing a character. Like if I was playing a character of someone who felt worthy, what would that look like? How could I try that on? loving the parts of you that feel afraid, because the thing that we want to do when a part of us comes up that we don't like, that we think is ugly, that we think is shameful, our first instinct is to reject that part and shut it down and blame it and belittle it and shove it to the side and not want anything to do with it. And we need to do the opposite, because that's a protector part. That's a part that is trying to protect us from hurt, from being unloved, from failure. And so we need to love that part. And in Selfish, we do a lot of work around the ego and like loving your ego. And I'm doing this because we literally like love the ego and hug it and integrate that into you, because it is part of you. It's an afraid part of you. And so rather than rejecting the parts of us that we don't like, that we think are, you know, sabotaging or whatever, we need to love up on those parts because they have good intentions. And then really important is titration. So titration essentially means like taking little baby steps. So we're not expecting to go from 0 to 100. Like, I've been a lazy bitch my entire life. Now I'm going to achieve 50,000 things in 2022. No, your nervous system will just shut down and go, fuck no. And so titration is like, what are the little, often we set goals that are just way too massive, that we take one look at that goal and we're like, I just don't feel safe approaching that. Like, how would I even do that? So I'm just not going to try. And so titration is like just kind of breaking it down into little chunks. How can you take little steps towards that goal that allow your nervous system to feel safe? Of like, yeah, I can do this. This feels good. Yeah, this feels aligned. Rather than like trying to eat the entire elephant. So, is there an alternative? Is there an alternative to these crazy, messed up methods? What do you guys think? From what I've already shared, from what you've already learned tonight, like, share in the chat box, what might be a more effective way of approaching goal setting? Because remember, I don't have all the answers. I just have a few little ideas. And then we'll go into the questions after this. Break down a big goal into smaller goals. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing goes for our like to-do lists at the start of each week. Often or month, we will put like a project on our to-do list and then get to the end of the week and not have done it because it was a project. So if we put like write first chapter of book or write blog post, for example, on our to-do list, rather than putting the project there, just put a task there of like brainstorm subject line of email, or, you know, really chunk it down. Why? Because achieving that little chunk and ticking off that chunk, it builds self-trust, it builds respect that we can actually do that thing. So yeah, yep. That's another way that we titrate, just by like little baby steps. So let's have a look. Let's try these on for size. Number 1, clarity of intention. So what do I truly, deeply desire? And again, this is why practices like white space, so doing nothing, doing lots of nothing, breath work, so getting out of the structured mind, getting into the body, just getting out in nature, earthing, grounding, what else? Journaling, if that's your thing, meditation. That's why these practices allow us to tap into that. We're not going to tap into this clarity, into this true, authentic desire when we're constantly busy, when we're constantly stressed, when our nervous systems are dysregulated. Where are we going to be operating from with that space? Oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing more of this and I feel guilty because that's a horrible place to operate from. That is not a nice place to be crafting the vision for your one precious life from. And so more practices that bring you out of that structured mind into your body. Dancing is another one. Nature, water, anything by water. Breath work, meditation, journaling, surrounding yourself with great people who really uplift you, who have really good energy, clearing energy, like I said at the start of this call, getting rid of shit. That allows you to really tap into that truth, that inner knowing. And ask yourself the question, if I wasn't afraid, what would I want? if I didn't put upper limits on myself? What would I call in? What would I create? Because often the goals that we set for ourselves are so far below what we could achieve, but we don't give ourselves the chance. So aim really high, and be unattached to how that needs to happen. Because often it's, oh, I can't even see how I could create that, so I'm just not going to put it down on my list. Fuck it. Put it down on your list and then figure the rest out. And that comes from building that self-belief of like, and the embodiment, which I'll talk about soon, of if I have the belief in myself that I can have that thing, and I embody the version of myself who would create that thing, and I put boundaries in place to say no to anything that doesn't exist within that, within that vision for myself, why would it not happen for you? Why could you not create those things? Yeah, the end. Number 2, embodiment, really important. So what I mean by embodiment is essentially like trying on a character or playing a character or playing an archetype. You might have heard of archetypes. So, and this is why people often don't achieve their goals, because they set the goal. They're like, okay, I need to achieve X. And then they're like, okay, in order to achieve X, and this is where SMART goals are fucked. In order to achieve X, I need to do this tomorrow, and I need to do this the next day, and I need to achieve this by this date, and I need to do. It's like, great, okay. If you're doing those things, those steps, those milestones, in the version of yourself that you were before that didn't have that thing, why should you have that now just by doing the steps? And so embodiment is about becoming that version of yourself who would achieve that thing, who would get that promotion, who would get that relationship, who would, lose the excess weight that she wanted to lose. What is that version of yourself? What does she need to do? How does she talk to herself? Who does she surround herself with? What does she wear? How does she walk? How does she dress? What does she nourish herself with? What does she spend her money on? How does she ask to be treated? Like, what does that version of yourself do on a daily basis in order to achieve that thing? So this is a really untapped resource that we can all be just accessing at any given moment. And so let's use the example of like calling in a relationship. In order to call in a relationship, I want to embody someone who is this is an example, in her feminine, and she's loving and she's fun and she's carefree and she's got boundaries and she's hardworking and she's ambitious. Is there anyone that springs to mind who is that, who I can start to embody? So I don't know, pick a movie character or a TV character, or perhaps it's someone in your life who you know. And you can have multiple. So there might be a movie character, a friend, and a celebrity. Put them all together. Like, what are the parts of them that I get to? I'll take her confidence. I'll take the way that she walks. I'll take the way that she's ambitious in her job. And I'll just start to play on those characters. I'll just start to play with those archetypes. So how would she dress? How would she talk? How would she, whatever. So embodiment is a really, really, really untapped resource. And let's just do a really quick, let's just do a really quick embodiment exercise. Closing down, this will be like 2 minutes. So closing down your eyes. And again, just starting to take some deep breaths as we did before, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And when you're feeling relaxed, just bring to mind something that you're calling in, something that you're calling into your life, a goal or an intention, something that you really want. And in the center of your mind's eye, just start to tap into the version of yourself that already has that thing. Imagine that you already have that thing, or you've achieved that thing. How does that feel in your body? You've got that thing, it's in your life, you've achieved it. What's different? What does that feel like? How do you spend your morning now? What is the expression on your face? How do you talk to yourself? How do you dress? What do you spend your days doing? Who do you surround yourself with? Now bringing your awareness to the center of your chest, imagining a white light filling up the center of your chest. And just feeling into how it feels in your body of becoming that version of yourself who has that thing that you wanted for so long. What did it take to get here? What changed? Who did you tap into? What was different? And then allowing that feeling to grow from your chest out to your arms, your shoulders, down your torso, your thighs, allowing that warm feeling to spread throughout your body. And allowing a smile to arrive on your face, knowing that you have everything that you want. You have everything that you want inside of yourself. You have unlimited potential, unlimited capacity. And all you have to do is believe and just embody this version of you who gets what she wants. Deep breath in through the nose, locking it in and sighing out anything that is keeping you from having that thing. In through the nose, locking it in. It is done. Sighing out through your mouth. And then fluttering your eyes open. And yeah, just noticing how you feel. Noticing, maybe jotting down what needed to happen. Jotting down anything that came through that surprised you. Any people that came through that were perhaps on that journey with you. Any expanders or vision holders, we can call them. And that's something that you have the ability to tap into on a daily basis. And visioning is one of the most powerful tools that you can have. And I do it in meditation because I'm lazy and I want to do two things at once. And so in a meditative state, I will sit and I will allow that feeling. Hey, recently, you guys know that I've recently called in a relationship, and in December, I was just sitting in meditation and just like imagining that I was already in the relationship of my dreams. And I just allowed this feeling of feeling so safe and so happy and so supported and everything to wash over me, and really like embodied, to use that word, embodied that feeling of as if it had already happened. And then what do you know? So a really powerful tool that we have access to is just visioning, like it's already happened. It's already there because it is there. It's in the quantum field. We just have all of this structure and this logic and this beliefs and whatever that's in the way. And then number 3, we've done that. Number 3 is my very dear friend, not to be underestimated, something that gives most people hives is boundaries. So this is an area that tends to be lacking. And your boundaries, if we're looking at the garden analogy again, your boundaries are the fence that are keeping out the predators, right? Keeping out anything that is going to knock you off your vision for yourself, knock you off achieving your goals. So what do I need to say no to in order to say yes to me and my dreams? Do I need to say no to my fake ass friends who don't support me and who are no longer aligned to me? Do I need to say no to spending money on clothes to make myself feel pretty when I could actually just do some inner work as to why I don't feel pretty? And then I can save the money that I've set a goal to save. Do I need to say no to like the negative self-talk and all of these beliefs, negative beliefs that I have about myself that are keeping me down and keeping me dating the wrong men and X, Y, and Z? Do I need to spend less time on my phone or watching Netflix or partying so that I can finally start this side business that I've been dreaming of starting? So what are the boundaries that can support you? Because boundaries are really there to support your relationships, your relationship with yourself, first and foremost, your relationships with technology, with your property, your personal possessions, your everything. So boundaries really support you in achieving whatever it is that you want and becoming that version of yourself who gets to have that. Anyone freaked out by boundaries? Because we think we're a bitch, right? We think that boundaries make us a bitch, but boundaries actually just make us a sovereign human being who knows her worth and isn't afraid to advocate for herself. And number 4, I touched on earlier, is creating a system. So create a system that works for you. That might be looking at goals once a week. That might be looking at goals once a month. Oh, wait, I've got some examples on the next page. So what conditions need to be present in order for you to feel supported, in order for you to feel less scrambled or less confused or less like you're lacking motivation or less whatever? So what would be a system? Number 1, make it sacred. So make this process sacred. Make it like a sacred ceremony, something that's really exciting. You might get together with girlfriends once a month on a new moon or on the first of the month, or you might do it by yourself. It really doesn't matter. But make it a ceremony. Again, as feminine beings, we are all about the experience. We're all about the like holistic kind of experience of creating those goals. Having a really nice journal or software, a really nice cup of tea or wine, a candle, music, soft lights. We might be at the beach where I did mine this year. But making it a sacred experience. Why? Because everything is energy. And when we are casting these goals or casting this vision for ourselves, we're imprinting it out into the universe and into the quantum field. And so making it an experience is going to allow us to feel embodied in that vision and exponentially help our results. Find accountability. So finding a support person or a coach or whatever.
Almost gonna die.
Hi, Karina. You're not on mute. Using software. So my favorite, you guys off mute? What's going on? What's happening? My favorite software at the moment of all time for any business owner or just for personal use is Notion. Love it. Will always love it. And there's so many different templates available. So you can have goals templates, journal templates, like money tracking templates, everything. Love Notion. So that's where I've started to really collate everything. And it's digital. So yeah, great. Investing in a journal, blah, 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 building in reflection time. So I talked about the importance of reflection. So perhaps when you sit down and have that goal setting ceremony on the week that was. What's going on, you guys? Keep hearing people. And celebrating. Really important that we celebrate. Celebrate the little milestones on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, celebrating as you're ticking things off, celebrating as you're actually calling these things in. Because so often we'll put something down on our vision or on our goals list and we'll achieve it. And we forget to celebrate because we forgot that we wrote it down in the first place because things move so quickly. And then also give yourself permission to adapt the system as you grow and evolve. You are only as good as your systems. Just gonna check in. You guys all still there? Yeah, good. Okay, good. Just gonna put you guys on mute. A little bit of background noise. Why has everyone got their cameras off? What's going on? Okay, cool. Wait, I need to share again. Okay, we're nearly there, guys. That's right, Lisa. We are nearly there. So remember, a final reminder, remember, there is no wrong way to do this. And that is perhaps what has tripped you up in the past, is thinking that there's one prescriptive way it needs to be done. So give yourself a break if you find it hard. You're a unique human being who has very unique, needs and desires and ways of operating. And, only you know what that method is for you. And so the only wrong way is sabotaging yourself by not doing it at all and getting to your deathbed wishing that you'd been more intentional and that you'd set some goals and you'd done some reflection and you'd celebrated yourself and you'd just lived a more present life. So that is it. And we've got about 9 minutes for Q&A. So please drop your questions in the chat box, or you can take yourself off mute and ask your question live. But I do actually have a couple of questions here which were already submitted by email. So as you're typing your questions or getting prepared to take yourself off mute, I'll just answer these ones. They may answer your questions anyway. So I have a fear of picking the wrong goal. So how do I not pick the wrong goal? One thing I would reflect back to you is that there is no such thing as a wrong decision. And so with that, there's no such thing as a wrong goal. It's just fear getting in the way of thinking like this is the wrong thing. And so that is just a judgment and a fear. And if you are doing the work to deeply know yourself, to know what you value, to know what you want, to know what kind of life you're trying to create, and you have all of that foundation in place of like really knowing what you want, really knowing what you're going after. And I'll say this as well. Sometimes you don't know what you want, and that is perfectly okay as well. Sometimes you don't fucking know. Like, I don't know what I want to do with my whatever. Absolutely fine. Just love that place that you're in right now. Maybe it's about who do you want to be? Or like, what do you want more of? Maybe your goal is to like invite in more fun in your life this year, or to invite in more freedom, or to have a healthier relationship with exercise, for example. So often we think that it needs to be like a quantitative thing with an outcome attached to it, versus maybe it's creating more of something, or maybe it's getting to really know yourself on a deeper level. So that's absolutely okay as well. So having a fear of picking the wrong goal cannot happen if you truly know yourself, and you're leading from that place of intuition and deep knowing. You'll only pick the wrong goal if you're choosing from a place of should, and from a place of fear, and from a place of really not knowing yourself. So yeah, put all of those foundations in place first, and you should be absolutely pucka, mate. How specific do the goals need to be? That's entirely up to you. That's not something that I can answer. So again, that comes back to that self-trust, that self-knowing, that self-belief of like, yeah, like I'm clear on this. And goals get to be like evolving and moving. Sometimes something might download and it's like, I don't even know why this is a goal. I don't know why I'm writing this down, but I'm just going to put it down and see what comes through. And maybe a month from now, it'll become clear as to why you put that goal down. So allow yourself to expand on it. Allow it to be a moving, evolving process or system. And this will depend on the individual. So if we want to look at a human design level, for example, in human design, you have a specific manifestor and a non-specific manifestor. You'll need to know your individual chart to know which one you are. And so I am a specific manifestor. Is that right? I'm a specific manifestor. So I need specificity. I need like the date, time, location, color, everything. And that just helps me. That allows me to feel safe. So again, it kind of comes back to your level of safety and like, what is going to make you feel safe or excited or whatever. Trust your inner knowing as to how specific you need to be. Yeah. And also, if you've got the why behind it, if you're clear on the like, I want X because it will give me this and because it's aligned to whatever, that to me speaks more to specificity than like being granular about the outcomes, if that makes sense. So getting really clear on the intentions, the boundary, how I'm going to embody it, that part is more important than how like granular and detailed and specific the actual goal is, if that makes sense. And I think there's one more. What process will ensure I stick to them and stay accountable? So I hope that I've answered this question throughout the presentation. It's about your system. It's about what is the system that is going to support you. Is it having something like Notion and having reminders set and having one day of the month, like the first of the month, where you sit and you reflect and you review and you do this thing and whatever? It's really about like, how does your brain work? What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel safe and supported and excited and whatever by these goals? It sounds like you could benefit from having an accountability buddy and someone who you like actually meet up with on a monthly basis and you celebrate your goals and what you're achieving. Yeah, if you're setting and forgetting them, it's kind of telling me that you're not truly tapped into what it is that you're desiring and the vision for yourself. And you're perhaps not giving yourself permission to really have that. So perhaps there's some more work to do around really cementing that vision for yourself. And then also maybe just making it small, maybe just creating like 3 things to focus on and having them up somewhere visible. If you're a visual kind of person, visual learner or whatever, having them up somewhere visual or having them on your phone, checking them on a weekly, daily, whatever basis. That's it. So that's it from the questions. I'll open it up to you guys to ask any questions now. Really want to finish on time, but I will remind you if you want to continue on this journey, if you really want to, go deeper into your self awareness and really understand yourself on a deeper level, integrate some of these past traumas, self-sabotaging tendencies, anything that's really holding you back from calling in the life that you truly want. We're starting on the 31st of January, and so there's only a couple more weeks to book in your discovery call, to hop on a call with me and just basically talk about whether it's a good fit and ask any questions. And if it's not a good fit, I'll give you other recommendations of things that might support you. But just wanted to kind of add that in here, as I know so many of you are probably ready to take the bull by the horns. We made it. Okay, so that's it from me. I would love to throw it over to you ladies to ask any questions. Feel free to take yourself off mute or share anything that that really landed, really resonated for you, and then we'll wrap up. Zoe. Otherwise, I just volunteer people.
Shit.
Knew it.
Damn it. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just, I'm here.
Love it. Zoe's a Selfish One grad from many moons
Thoroughly
ago.
recommend it if anyone's on the fence. Message me and I can persuade you.
Thanks, girl. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm feeling refreshed and reset. Like I've had the longest holiday I've had in like 6 years, so I'm ready to put the foot down and go when I get back in Auckland.
Good.
But business is starting this year.
Good.
Which is cool. And the campus has hired me as well to be a part of staff.
Oh my God.
To help teach year 3. Yeah. So everything that I kind of wrote down that I wanted to happen is happening. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
The power of visioning.
Yeah, for sure. Such powerful exercise.
Yay. This wasn't pre-planned, by the way. We didn't rehearse it.
Just having a yarn.
It's so exciting. Was there anything that kind of landed today for you that landed in a different way?
Probably just a reminder about the envisioning, even if it's just for 2 minutes a day. And there was something that I wrote down. Oh, that motivation. The thing you said about motivation, I was like,
It's not a feeling, it's a decision.
Yeah. And probably having a system as well. I think in the past I've been very scrambled and just relying on myself remembering it, but actually just having a system, getting it down on paper or having it digital for me to go back to, because sometimes I do forget.
Yeah.
And it gets to that kind of 1 month mark and I'm like, shit, what was I wanting to achieve again?
Yeah.
So I'm having to like restart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe check out
That's
Notion.
good.
I love it.
Yeah, I did write that down as well. I will look at it.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Zoe. Anyone else want to ask anything? Yeah. All right. I will let you all go, but thank you so much for thank you so much for showing up. And for the ladies who watch the replay, I hope you enjoy it. If any questions come up throughout this, just flick me an email or DM me on Instagram. I'm always happy to voice note you back with any, if there's any questions or something didn't make sense or whatever, just very happy to keep my DMs open for that. And of course, if you're interested in chatting about selfish, then DM me about that as well. But here's to a powerful year. I just feel like this year has so much potential. I don't like the word potential, but I truly feel like this year has got some really good energy about it. So just go out there and absolutely smash it, and I'll see you on the internet. All right, bye ladies. Bye, 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 bye.